My intention originally for this YouTube channel was to be comical and funny and, you know, witty. I have other interests that I think are worth exploring. In today's video, before I dive into that, actually, you should consider subscribing to the best YouTube channel ever. And why should you subscribe to me? Because I'm a world record, best in the world, best in the business, powerlifter and bodybuilder and hybrid athlete. I'm like a combination. I'm like a freak of nature. I call it, check my pedigree because I'm well bred. Okay, so you need to subscribe to my YouTube channel right now. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you can follow me there. And then of course this page as well. I like it. I don't really entirely like it because it's ribbed. So I don't really like ribbed clothing. This is ribbed. It's called ribbed. I'm not a huge fan, but I got it and I was like, you know what? Let me keep it. And then I also have this cute belt. And I also have my Fashion Nova pants, which Fashion Nova, you need to sponsor me. I'm gonna be your fitness ambassador. Okay, amazing construction boots because I'm amazing. Okay, I was inspired to make this video because unfortunately there are a lot of people that are losing their communication skills and manners. And then I'm gonna touch up on relationships and the attachment theory. There's this really good book, you should get it. Sum it up really quickly. Basically, this book talks about there's 3 types of attachments. There's secure attachment, anxious, and then avoidant. So one of the reasons why this is really important to understand is because if you know what kind of attachment you are, you can establish your place and understand why people communicate or why people behave the way they do. Specifically if you are in a romantic relationship. If somebody is avoiding you or they're maybe smothering you, this book explains why. It stems down to childhood, how they were kind of raised, how they handled trauma. That formulates a certain attachment through everybody. About 50% of the population is secure, but then you can change your attachment. If you're like super anxious or if you're super avoidant, you can change that to be a little bit more secure through a lot of kind of working through your trauma. But this is a good book, and this ties into what I'm going to discuss today, which is my notes. 11 tips that I'm going to share with you on how to communicate better and how to be perceived a little bit better. First tip is to agree, and it's to follow through on your word. When you say you're going to do something, you better do it. If you can't, for whatever reason, follow through on what you said you were going to do, then just admit it and say, hey, I can't do this anymore, X, Y, Z. End the conversation. You don't have to provide an explanation. No one's asking you to give them a reason. And if they do ask for a reason and you don't feel comfortable giving you a reason, I'm gonna explain what you can do in response to that. That's called the broken record method, which I'm gonna dive into on number 8 or 9. You don't have to give an explanation. Just say, hey, I can't do this anymore, period. Okay, number 2, ghosting. Okay, in my opinion, is low value, immature, and not very classy. Okay, you want to be perceived as, now I'm a goofball. I'm a huge goofball. Some people may think that ghosting is like not a big deal, but let me explain to you why it's a huge deal. Ghosting, what do you mean? Ghosting means when you speak to somebody, whether that means a job or a potential romantic partner, or maybe you're not friends with somebody anymore, or what have you. Ghosting is intentionally cutting off the communication with this person. The reason why this is not a good look is because you are communicating in a way through non-communication that you do not know how to communicate what's going on. And that's a problem, okay? Ghosting is a big no-no, specifically when it comes to romantic relationships. That's a huge red flag. So if you just start talking to someone for 2 or 3 days or what have you, okay, sure, you can ghost, I suppose. But if you're talking to someone for 2, 3 weeks, 6 months, a year, and then you go a week with no contact for no reason when everything was going fine, that's really weird. It's really odd, and it's very rude. So don't do that. Give yourself the self-respect that you deserve to just tell them, hey, I don't think this is going to work out. End the conversation. And if they ask why, you don't even have to explain why. Now, depending on how long you're talking to this person, it deserves an explanation, but that's number 2. Number 3, express how you feel. Now, depending on who you're with, you don't always want to necessarily express how you feel with everybody, because you can't trust everybody with your feelings. Your feelings are valid. How you feel is how you feel. Nobody can tell you how you feel, and nobody can argue with how you feel. Number 4 is manners. So something very basic. Instead of saying things like thanks, say thank you. Instead of saying things like, you know, no problem, say you're welcome. I'm big on please, thank you. Instead of saying yeah, say yes. These little things make a difference in your persona and your character. And obviously there's a time and place for certain verbiage, but for the most part, I think it doesn't hurt to say thank you and yes and please. Okay, number 5 is to articulate your words. Now, like to use slang, and they think it's cool, and they think it's, you know, the thing, but there's something about, you know, communicating, articulating your words, being thoughtful and intentional with them, with the words, and not just blabbering anything that comes to mind. Okay, so you want to think through, articulate your words, articulate your thoughts, and really be specific on what you're saying. You'll notice people will start to really appreciate that, and people will have a little bit more respect for you. Okay, number 6 is be patient. Now, when you're communicating with somebody, this is essential. You want to be patient with them. If somebody's talking, what do? You zip it and you listen, okay? There's a reason why you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, okay? Because God gave you 2 ears to listen twice as much as you speak. So if you're speaking way too much, that's a red flag. You don't want to be the person that talks all the time. I have an imaginary friend right here. Let's say my friend is named Barbie. Okay, I say, Barbie, how many chocolate chip cookies do you have? And she says, oh, I have like 10. And then I look at her and I say, nice. Okay, so notice how I paused. Okay, that's nice. It's a good, formal, eloquent way of communicating. You don't want to be like, if she says that she has 10 cookies, but wow, that's amazing. Like, it's like you're like always on a, you know, roller coaster, like on cocaine or something. Okay, so you want to take your time, be patient, look into their eyes, let them speak, nod your head, a light smile, and then speak. Okay, don't just interrupt them. It's rude. Don't avoid that. Next one, I kind of touched up on it earlier. It's like manners, essentially I'm going to emphasize saying thank you versus thanks. Thank you implies sincerity, you're genuine, you're more patient, a little bit more kind and gentle with your words. And that's essential. I think that's the key word, is gentle with your words, gentle with your communication, and saying things in a way that is respectful and loving and with good intent and with thought. Is the broken record method. So the broken record method is essentially, somebody asks you why, for example. If you say you're talking to somebody and you don't want to talk to them anymore, you tell them, you know what, Joe Schmo, I don't think it's going to work out. And Joe Schmo tells me, well, why not? And I'm like, I don't think it's going to work out. And then he challenges me again. He says, well, why not? I'll just say, Joe, I just don't think it's going to work out. And I just nod my head. I just, wow. That's called the broken record method. When you use the broken record method, you're not giving them a reason and an explanation. Now, this has a time and place for it, because sometimes people deserve an explanation, depending on the length of time you've known them, on your relationship or what have you. But not everybody does. And you don't have to explain your life story to everybody and anybody and their mother, okay? Because quite frankly, it's none of their business. But the broken record method is very effective. Just smile, repeat it with the same tone of voice. That is very effective. Try it. Another thing to tie up onto that is you don't always have to have an opinion on everything. And to tie into that, if somebody forms an opinion of you very quickly when they don't know you, be wary of that. And don't be afraid, or have the courage to say to them, you know, if somebody says, oh, I didn't realize how anxious you would get from this decision, or I didn't realize how anxious you would be from XYZ, and let's say you just met them last week, it's not rude for you to say to them, you know what, Joe Schmo, I don't think you're in a position to make that judgment of me that I'm anxious. Because they're not. They don't know you. They've only known you for 1 week. Or I don't think you're in a position to determine whether or not I'm anxious. You know, I don't think you know me well enough to make that conclusion about me, because you don't know me. How do you know how do you know how my anxiety manifests, or whether or not I have anxiety? Okay, the next tip is, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, okay? I don't really need to say anything more. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. So next one is avoid profanity. Now, some people may disagree with me on this one. For the most part, I would say avoid it. You know, I personally am not a huge fan of using it in my vocabulary when I speak. It's just a personal choice. However, I know a lot of people that do. I believe that words are very powerful, and you can speak your life into existence. And when you use profanity, you're essentially attracting that into your life. And I prefer to attract, you know, something else. However, I think that classy, consistent, respectable communication is to avoid profanity. The last one is text etiquette in general, but it really ties into real life. If you, specifically with the texting etiquette is, if you say you're going to do something, just do it. If you're gonna text somebody all of these lovey-dovey things, you're gonna text them all these wonderful things that you like about them or what have you, make sure you follow through with it, because now they literally have proof that you did all this and you don't follow through. It's not a good look. So just do yourself that. You owe it to yourself to follow through on that, and to making sure that you're communicating, you know, in a good, respectable, uplifting, and with dignity. Check out my Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video.